Sorry about that. And we're live. Hi, hello, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Nigeria. Good evening, world. It's good to be here. First of all, I want to apologize for coming in late. Some things happened that made me not to join, but thank you regardless for being here. I can see Carlos has joined. Thank you so much for joining. Ugomba has joined. Thank you so much for joining in. It's great to be here. Let me give you a gist, right? So, this was not supposed to be a live stream. I wanted to. Oh, you can't hear me. Okay, but okay, can you hear me now? If you can hear me, let me know that you can hear me. Can you hear me now, Carlos? Hear me? Please, if you can hear me, let me know. Okay, you can hear me. Great. So I'm going to shoot, right? So like I was saying, yesterday I was trying to shoot several videos about these misconceptions about volunteering, but it wasn't giving, right? After 30 to 45 minutes, I was getting frustrated and I did not have enough space on my phone. So I was like, okay, why don't I go live and just come and discuss and just come and share? So that is why we are here live and it's so great to be here. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. My name is Chinedu-Obioha. I'm a social entrepreneur and a businesswoman. So, I work with Choma Ileka Foundation as a project and volunteer coordinator. But I've also volunteered for several organizations like ISEC, the Advanced Development Initiative, the Lighthouse, and even Sustainable Development Solutions Network. So over this, cumulatively, I have experience in the nonprofit and social development space like 3 years now because I've been working for like 3 years cumulatively now. So from that wealth of experience, that is what I want to come and share and also learn with you. So we're going to be talking about the misconceptions about volunteering. So before I start, I'm not going to assume that everybody knows what volunteering is because okay, we just have a few persons here, but I know more people are going to join in and more people are going to see. So for someone that is just coming in, will be like, okay, the concept of volunteering might be new to you. So what is volunteering about, or what does it mean to volunteer? So volunteering is giving your time, your skills, your resources, and contributing it to a mission or a cause, right? It's an unpaid service. So you're contributing your time, your resources and all of that, and you're not getting monetary gain per se. But I like to think that you get paid, or maybe there are benefits, but in terms of monetary value, you don't get paid. So those are by this definition, we know that okay, this is who a volunteer is, and this is what volunteering is. But volunteering in itself, it has enormous potentials, right? And most times, if something has so much power, so much depth, and you're oblivious of what it carries, and I'm sure you agree with me that you will not be able to tap into its full potentials. And there could be several reasons why this, this could happen. One of them could be why we're here now, the misconceptions that people have had over time, especially in this part of the world. I remember when I started volunteering initially, I was just like, okay, one of the things, okay, let me not even let's follow the progression. So I'm here to just bring light and shed light on that. So I want us to just jump right in. So I have my notes and I'm going to be going through my notes so we don't skip any parts and we, move coherently. So, one of the misconceptions that people have about volunteering is that volunteering is for broke people. I've heard this a lot and I've seen this a lot, and the truth is it is not true at all. Volunteering is not for broke people. As a matter of fact, volunteers are one of the most wealthiest people in Ugumba is laughing, but it's true. It's true. Like I heard that a lot. People just think that okay, because you're volunteering, you don't have time. You're broke. Because if you're really busy making money, how would you have time? But that is not true, right? Volunteers are one of the most wealthiest and resourceful people on the face of the earth. If you check my words, I didn't use rich because there's a difference between being wealthy and being rich. A volunteer understands that true wealth and prosperity does not come from just the abundance of money in your bank account, but it comes from how you're able to affect the lives of people, how you're able to leave your footprints, your fingerprints, whatever prints you want to live, right, on the face of the earth. So believe me, a broke person does not think like this, but volunteers do think like this, right? And a lot of them are not broke. The last projects we had our photographer, right? The guy that did photography for us. For some of you that are in Port Harcourt, I'm based in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. So his name is Samuel Ifeanyi. If you do photography in Port Harcourt, I really can't remember his brand name, and he was our media guy that day. You need to see the shots he took of that event. I worked with Choma Ileka Foundation for that event. The shots were clean. If you know media and arts, you know that photography is not cheap, right? Their skills, their time, and all of that, it is not cheap at all. But this guy was there. He gave us his time, he gave us his effort. So imagine somebody that does photography professionally. You know he makes money. So tell me, is that a broke person? The answer is no. So volunteers are not broke people, contrary to popular belief or opinion. The second misconception is that you need to have volunteering is just for the rich, right? If you don't have money, you cannot volunteer. The kind of things that we hear is funny. Okay, okay, some people are asking me how they can join in. So let me reply to that quickly. My IG, hold on please. Okay, thank you. So the second thing is that volunteering is for the rich people. Only people that are boxed can volunteer, and that's also a misconception. Everybody cannot be Elon Musk. Everybody cannot be Bill Gates, but some of us can be Mother Teresa, right? We can do small things in great and beautiful ways. And to even add to that, you don't need money to volunteer. If you have a skill, that is a tool. In fact, skill can be equated with money. So if you don't have money per se, you can volunteer with your time. I remember when I started volunteering, I did not have funding. I was still a student then, but I knew I had time then, right? So I volunteered with my time. I volunteered with my energy. I volunteered with my skill, even though I started out at, you know, level zero. But then I started growing and growing and growing. So you see that even if you don't have money per se, you can volunteer. Volunteering is volunteering is an inclusive, if I should use the word, occupation. So you don't need to have money to be a volunteer. Then the other thing is volunteering is a one-way relationship, or is just volunteering is one-sided. I'm going to be using myself as an example more, right? So I don't know. Okay, I can see Comfort is here. Comfort has a lot of experience in volunteering. When I started out volunteering, at first it was just like, is it that I'll just be giving my time, my energy for these people? What am I even gaining and all of that? So a lot of people tend to think that volunteering is just one-sided. But if you actually sit down and if you're actually volunteering intentionally, in fact, one of the reasons why people think that volunteering is just one-sided is because they are not doing it intentionally. They just jump on it. You see a flyer, call for volunteers, you jump on it. You see call for whatever, you just jump on the train. And then you tend to be like, okay, volunteering is not, I'm just doing for them. Your mind and your perspective is not open to the fact that no, you're not just doing for them, you're also learning, you're also gaining, you're also expanding. I can tell you that from a lot of people that I've met, high valued people. Somebody said volunteering is a door opener for a better you. Exactly. Like I was coming to this point. A lot of people that I've met, like in my contact, in my network, a lot of people that have value that I've met, I met them through volunteering. During one project, volunteering for one event, volunteering for one project or another. And I can tell you, it has just been a chain reaction, right? So imagine me thinking that okay, I'm just doing it for this organization. No, you're not doing it for the organization, right? As you're volunteering, you're building yourself, you're expanding your network, your perspective is broadening. And like Ugumba said, it's a door opener for a better you. You begin to see more of yourself. Yes, Comfort is saying intentional volunteering is a win-win for everyone, particularly on the volunteer. And it is true, it is true. Like the possibilities are endless, and we're going to get to that part of it. Another thing is volunteering is just about doing good. You have to start somewhere and get to where you want to go to. So volunteering is not just about doing good, right? It's a shocker, but it is true. It's not just about doing good. It's not just about having passion. It's about doing good intentionally. It's about doing good purposefully. What does this mean? When you're very deliberate about the good you want to contribute, that is when you grow, right? And that's where your growth now comes in, because now it's not um that perspective of it's just one-sided would not come in if you're deliberate about volunteering. So wanting to do good, it's not enough, right? You have to be deliberate about volunteering. You need to know why you want to volunteer. The problem you're volunteering for currently now, Choma Ileka Foundation is recruiting volunteers for the Rose Project. It's a menstrual hygiene campaign, right? So we're doing call for volunteers. Somebody will just see that and jump on the train. I want to volunteer. But no, pause, right? Pause. Ask yourself, why do I want to volunteer for the Rose Project? Why do I want to volunteer for Choma Ileka Foundation? When you define this, and in fact, you even look at the problem. Is there really a problem with menstrual hygiene? Like, why is Choma Ileka Foundation campaigning for menstrual hygiene? If you do a problem analysis, right? If you do an analysis of the problem that the foundation is trying to solve, or the foundation is you're trying to contribute to, it will help you to be able to, one, contribute very well, two, grow yourself very well, because you're not just giving. No, you're expanding yourself. So it is not enough to want to do good. No, you have to be deliberate about doing good. So volunteering is not just about doing good. No, it's about deliberately and intentionally doing good. Another misconception people have about volunteering is that volunteering is time consuming and demanding. Hey, there are people that will think, and in Nigeria generally, right, and maybe in Africa, I think maybe that's where we are where we are now. A lot of people think that people that volunteer, we sure don't have anything to do with our time. Like we spend the whole 24 hours volunteering, or we spend the whole 1 week, 1 month, 1 year volunteering. But no, it is not as demanding and as consuming as people think or perceive it to be. No, you actually schedule your time. As a volunteer, you have, in fact, one of the things you should do as a human being that is deliberate about life, not just about making impact, is to know how to manage your time properly, right? If you know how to manage your time properly, you would even know that you do not volunteer for your whole 24 hours volunteering. When I spoke at the volunteer conference Care Hub organized in February, I told them that you have to define how long you want to volunteer. You cannot volunteer forever, right? You can choose, do I want to volunteer short term? Do I want to volunteer long term? In a week, how many hours do I want to volunteer? Do I want to do three hours in a week? Do I want to do 6 hours in a week? Do I want to do 10 hours in a week? These are some of the things that you break down to these are some of the things that you break down before you volunteer, right? So it is not as time, what am I saying? It's not as it is not what's the word before I scatter myself. It is not as demanding. Thank you. It is not as demanding as you think. No, you've not just learned how to prioritize your time. You've not learned how to draw up your schedule properly. So volunteering is a very resourceful and powerful tool. Just learn how to, prioritize and schedule your time properly so that you get the best out of it. So going forward, right? Volunteers, okay, let me read this one because I wrote it down on my notes so that I will not miss anything. It said volunteers are people who think they are superheroes and can solve all the problems in the world. Hey, there's someone I admire, right? And the person said something to me that all these ones I'm just doing busybody. I think I can solve all the problems in the world, that I cannot solve all the problems in the world, that these things will keep happening. And I was like, okay, um even Jesus said that there would not cease to be the poor amongst us. But would that stop us from becoming rich, or would that stop us from helping people? No. And as volunteers, right, even we're not trying to solve all the problem in this world. That's what people think, that you're volunteering, you're trying to show yourself, you want to solve all the problem in this world. No, you're not trying to solve all the problem in this world. You're just only trying to contribute to solving the problem one you're only trying to contribute to address the problem or to solve the problem one community a time, one action a time. For people that do business, there's what you call your value chain or your supply chain, right? And you know that in this chain, the okay let me use the value chain for example. Now it comprises of the different players, um players in, let me use agriculture for example. Now a value chain comprises of the different players in the sector that enables the produce or the crop, for example, now to move from point A to point from the point of production to the final point of consumption, from production to consumption. So in this value chain now, there are people, different players. We have the people in input, we have the people in processing, we have the people in distribution before you get to the final consumer, right? So this is how volunteering works. So there are different areas of volunteering, there are different sectors of volunteering, and every aspect of volunteering is on the chain. People in environment and climate, they are in one chain. People in agriculture, they're in one chain. People in education, they're in one chain. People in somebody help me now. People in wildlife, they are in one chain. People in tech, they are in one chain. So by the time somebody in environment does something, educates about climate change, does something, it automatically affects somebody in agriculture. Somebody in agriculture automatically affects somebody in education, just like that. So it is a chain. So you can see we have a chain of people, or we have chains of people working together. So we are not trying to solve all the problem in the world, contrary to what people say. No, we're trying to contribute to solve one community at a time, one action at a time. So we're not saying we are going to solve all the whole problem in the world and people will start making jest of volunteers. No, that's not true. We are aware that we're solving problems, but it's not as if we're saying, hey, we'll solve all the whole problems in this world. We'll carry them on our shoulder. We're not Jesus Christ to carry the whole yoke on our shoulders, right? We're just contributing to solving these problems one at a time. Another interesting one is that volunteering is not worth it at all. It's not worth your time. And it's not true. Hey, all those people that think that volunteers don't know what they are doing, it's not true. Let me tell you, right? I started volunteering actively in 2017. I started off without a skill, without nothing. But then, just by impacting, I grew from myself to my team, to my community, and now to the world. It has expanded me so much. The kind of experience that I've gained by volunteering. If I was just sitting in my house Or if I had just gone to school, read my books, and come out, I wouldn't have gained that at all. The skills I have now, I wouldn't have gained that at all. The network, I wouldn't have gained that at all. The access, I wouldn't have gained that at all. So volunteering is what it's, you know, this is August. We're getting into September and we're going to get into October. This is a season where opportunities are just springing up just like that. Scholarships are all around the corner. And one thing that people don't know, one of the things that the schools board or the scholarship board and all of that, one of the things they look at, right? They're looking for people that are outstanding, people that have not just people that have not done the ordinary. They're not looking for people that do the ordinary. No, they're looking for people that have done the extraordinary, people that have moved beyond themselves to their community, people that have volunteered in one community project, in one action or another. See, they want to know that okay, you are an asset to them. They want to know that you're not a liability. They want to know that okay, you've done this. So even without a platform, you were able to do this. So if we give you a platform, it means you will do even much more. So volunteering gives you an edge when you're applying for all of these scholarships. And we're going to get to the part where it's not just enough to volunteer. You know, you need to know how to curate those experiences so that you can get the best. So volunteering in every sense of the word, it is worth your time. It is worth your investment. So volunteering is worth it. It's a door opener, right? Just as Ugumba has said, it's a perspective broadener, right? So volunteering is worth your time if you do it deliberately. Let me say that if you do it intentionally, if you do it deliberately. Another misconception people have, right? This is a conversation, right? So there are people here. I'm just going to, as we proceed, I'm going to make the floor open. So you drop one or two misconceptions you heard about volunteering, and let's talk about that. Another misconception that people have is that you don't need a skill to volunteer. It's true, it's not true. So let me balance that. Like I said, I'm going to be using myself more as an example. When I started out volunteering in 2017, I did not have any skill. Okay, I had them inherently, right? Because you were born with your gifts and your talents and all of that, but they were unrefined. They were just in their raw form. Some of them I did not even know existed. So when I started out volunteering, I did not know fathing. But then as I was going, I began to grow because of course it would demand the unusual from you. Because you're coming out from your comfort zone. So I began to learn. I began to read. I began to observe. I began to see how things worked. So I grew from having no skill to having a skill. I started learning about leadership. I started learning about teamwork, about communication, how to do needs assessment. Even before I started taking courses in project management, I was already learning them on the field, right? So you can start out on ground zero, but then you have to grow. That's why I said it's not just about volunteering, it's about being an intentional volunteer, it's about being a deliberate volunteer, it's about being a purposeful volunteer, right? And then again, if you have a skill, that's an added advantage or an asset to your community or to the organization you're volunteering for, right? So you do need a skill. You don't like okay, how would I frame this now? Okay, you can start volunteering without a skill, but then as you grow, you enhance your skill or you discover your skill or I try to know that you people get what I'm trying to talk about. So if there's anybody out there that's saying, okay, I don't have a skill, I cannot volunteer, or I have a skill, I cannot volunteer. No, we need you. The world needs you. Tech bro, tech sis, right? There is so much we can do fused together, right? So you can start out volunteering without a skill, but then you grow, you expand, and you gain a skill. The very last one, right before I open the floor for us to have the discussion, like I said, I don't want to come here and talk and talk and talk and talk, is that volunteering is for young people. Oh my God. I think our older adults have missed this. Maybe that's where, that's why we are where we are right now. Okay, we get you. Thank you, Nina Gold. So I think that's why we are here right now. Volunteering is not just for young people. Yes, young people have the energy it takes to volunteer because they are in their youth. But then the older people have what we don't have. They have the wisdom, they have the connections, and they have the experience that they can use to guide these volunteers. We cannot, the world cannot function on its own. This is Africa, so I'm going to use an African adage that says, what an adult sees sitting down, should I say it in pidgin or I should say it in English? What an adult sees when he's sitting down, a younger person, even if he's standing up, he would not be able to see it. So as an older person, you can mentor a younger person. That is also volunteering. Because these days, most times when you're trying to fill in for applications or for opportunities, you see that there's the age range. You have from 18 to 25, 25 to 35, 35 to 45. Some even, I've seen even the one that ended at 65. I was like, okay. So to tell you that it is not for young people. Everybody has a skill. Everybody has an experience. And I'm saying this particularly because there are a lot of people that are way, people just feel that if you're 40, you, okay, they say life begins at 40, but then again, when people get to the age of 40, they'll be like, okay, let's leave this thing for the younger gen. Hey, we're back. I'm sorry guys, my network has really been crazy today. I'm sorry about the break in transmission. Okay, so I was saying I was an SDG advocate working with the Sustainable Development Solutions Network. And so we still have our WhatsApp group existing. So I think in June or May, I can't remember now, one of our advocates wanted to organize a program. I would have loved to volunteer, but I couldn't. So I was just observing what he was doing. So he needed, so this is me trying to, you know, reference how we need the connection, wisdom, knowledge of older people, right? So I'm assuming I'm the older person now. So I was just observing what he was doing on the platform and all of that. And I really would have loved to volunteer actively, like physically on ground. But then I couldn't. So what I did was I had someone, he was doing something in the environmental sector, right? About waste recycling and all of that. So I had someone in my network. I shared a stage with her in February, Christabel, right? She's the founder for iRecycle. iRecycle. If you're in Port Harcourt, you would know her. So I shared her contacts with the guy. I was like, okay, please reach out to her and tell her you would love to collaborate with her. It would give you an edge and it would give you a broader reach. So that is now me as an older person in quotes sharing my connection, sharing my, okay, I didn't even mention the part. So he was doing, I observed a few things that he was doing. So I had to go into his DM. I told him that, okay, you can do this one like this, you get better results if you do this better here, right? So we should not leave this for the younger people. Everyone should put hands on deck to see that we drive the world from where it is to where it ought to be. So these are some of the misconceptions about volunteering that I know, that I've heard, that I've experienced, and all of that. So I don't know if there's someone here that would like to share one or two with us so that we can learn. Like I said, this is not. Can you guys hear me? If you can hear me and you like to share a misconception, probably you've heard, or I would like to I would like to know, because I'm also here to learn. Oh. So while we wait for someone to drop that, you can just drop it and we just talk about it. I look at it, we dissect it and just discuss. So while we wait for someone to contribute, I'm going to do a recap about some of the misconceptions about volunteering. I said the first one is that volunteering is for broke people. No, volunteering is not a broke. In fact, I even wrote it down. I said volunteering is not a broke person's work. Volunteers, in fact, are the wealthiest persons on the face of the earth. The second thing we talked about is that volunteering is not only for the rich, it is inclusive to all, so that you can be Mother Teresa. If you cannot be Elon Musk, you can be Mother Teresa doing little things in a great way. So I also said that volunteering is not just about doing good. Doing good is good, right? But volunteering is about being deliberate and understand the change you want to make. Understanding, you first of all understand the root cause of the problem to be able to provide the solution, or to be able to contribute to providing the solution. So volunteering is not just about doing good. Volunteering is about doing good deliberately. We also said that volunteering is not a one-way relationship, contrary to what people say. No, volunteering is a two-way relationship of reciprocation and transformation. So you're giving, and you yourself, you're also being transformed. It's just like what the Bible says, that he that waters others himself shall be watered. So that is what volunteering is. Then we also said that volunteering is not time consuming, contrary to what people say. No, is you just have to know how to schedule your time and prioritize properly to be able to get the best out of it. Then I also said that volunteers are not heroes that try to solve the world's problem, but address the issues one problem and one community at a time, right? So we're not Superman trying to fly in everywhere. We cannot be everywhere. We're not the Holy Spirit. We're not omnipresent. Then I also said that volunteering is not a worthless service, right? It is an asset that opens doors before you. I think Ugumba said that. He said it's an asset that opens doors before you. Then I also said that volunteering is not just for young people. Older people can also be involved in volunteering. You can volunteer with your wisdom, you can volunteer with your connection or network, and you can share your experience. It can help or assist. I mean, you can mentor a young person. That is you volunteering, and it's always a useful tool, right? It's always a useful tool. Let me read through some of the comments we have here. Ugumba said, I broke into a sector through volunteering and I have been in it for over 8 years now. And I still volunteer when I see opportunities to do so. Wow, this is mind blowing. I wish you could share. Wow, and that's true. That's true. It's just in Nigeria or in Africa, and it's well with us. It's well with us. There are a lot of people abroad, right? There are a lot of people that actually gain employment opportunities through volunteering. You go some, I mean, there are limitless opportunities in volunteering if you know what you're doing. If you know, and again, if you know what you're doing. Comfort said intentional volunteering is a win-win for everyone, particularly on the volunteer, and that is so true. Then okay, it's not time consuming as we perceive, most especially when it's deliberate. Yes, that's true. You have to be deliberate in whatever you do, not just volunteering. You have to be deliberate, you have to be intentional. So other misconception is volunteering is not for the weak or faint-hearted. That is true. That is so true. I'm going to share a story. I'm going to share a story of something that happened in 2018 when we had an outreach to a community, right? So I'm going to even expand on this in another session. We had already done our, we went to the place, we did our research, went to the place, engaged some people in the community and all of that, and we picked out the particular location in the community, where we wanted to do that outreach, one of the low income communities in River State. Right, so it got to the day of the event. We did not know that there was tension in the environment, so we got there, the place was looking somehow. We tried to, we because we had to, we stopped outside, and you have to travel, not like travel though, but literally you have to walk down to the point where we had already chosen to carry out our outreach. So we got there, and the place was too, the tension there, like violence was going to erupt. So we did not go inside. We just chose a different location and did that volunteering work, even while we're doing it. Sef. I mean, for some of you that are conversant with Port Harcourt, we did that in Bundu. If you know River State very well, or if you know Port Harcourt very well, we did that in Bundu. And some of the girls were like trying to want to um in local palace, they say obtain us, wanted to get stuff from us. So we just hurriedly did what we did and we came out of there. It was later I was now reflecting, I was like, wow, I think we made a mistake with this outreach. We did not actually engage with the stakeholders of this community, because whether we like it or not, even inside those guys they were trying to agitate and all of that, they were key persons that we would have connected with, or that would have informed about our program. No, right? We did not engage them. So we just went there and we just had to use smartness and just um, you know, um do what we went there to do, and we came out. So there would be situations like that. We hope there would not be, but it is not for the weak. It is not for the faint-hearted. You, even the Bible says that whatever you put your heart to do, whatever that is given to you to do, you do it very well. So you have to be mentally tough to volunteer. You have to be emotionally sound to volunteer, because there are some projects you take on, or there are some projects you want to volunteer in, and it's going to be very demanding. You would even question yourself that, "Ah, who sent me? Sha? After all, I'm not getting paid for this." But then when you know what you want to achieve in the long run, it gives you the staying power. So yes, volunteering is not for the weak, is not for the faint-hearted. And I, for one, am a preacher of not just volunteering, but about volunteering intentionally. What does it mean to be volunteer intentionally? It means that you are deliberate about why you want to volunteer, how you want to volunteer, and the kind of results you want to see from you volunteering. It is not just the organization you volunteer with that should have their goals, their objectives, and all of that. You, as the individual coming to volunteer, you should be able to say, okay, this is what I want to gain at the end of this experience, right? So that is the message I preach. In fact, this even led me to starting the Intentional Volunteering Hub. And our mission at the Intentional Volunteering Hub is simple, right? Empower youth for global change through intentional volunteering. There's so much that we can achieve. A volunteer is not a busybody. No, you're a patriotic citizen trying to contribute to yourself, your community, your nation, your continent, and even the world at large. So, the United Nations has set the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030, what we want to achieve in 2030. Do you think it is just them that can achieve that by themselves, just the directors or some organizations that we have running? In fact, as a matter of fact, major organizations run with the volunteers as their major workforce, to tell you how valuable volunteers are. And I keep saying it, if you do not if you do not plug into the benefits or the power that lies in volunteering, you would not be able to get much from volunteering. And that is why I want to end this webinar by encouraging you to join our community, be part of what we do, right? So we're on Instagram at the intentional volunteering underscore hub. In fact, if you just go to your Instagram and just check the intentional volunteering underscore hub, follow us to stay up to date about what we do. We have this August, we're just using it to warm up. We're just using it to create awareness, tell people that, okay, there is a community in town that is intentional about impacting youth with the power to create the change that they need. And that is the intentional volunteering hub. From September, we are running full scale. Our webinars, our workshops, and of course, we're not just going to be having workshops, training, talking. No, we're also going to be collaborating with some organizations to see how we can link people, especially people that are just starting up, with organizations that they can work with, right? So I also want to encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn. I don't know if I should say this on um Instagram. I hope they don't block me out, but I decided to open a page on LinkedIn for a reason. Like I said, it's not enough to just volunteer. You have to volunteer intentionally. And one of the ways to volunteer intentionally is to put yourself on the world stage. And LinkedIn is one of those platforms that you can use to put yourself out there for the world to see you and know what you're doing, especially if you want to grow your career professionally, right? That is why I said, okay, let's also open a community on LinkedIn where we'll have people engage, interact, right? So that as they are coming and joining our community on LinkedIn, they will have the consciousness to also say, okay, I have to just not just join the community here, but I also have to build my LinkedIn presence, build my LinkedIn presence. Build my LinkedIn presence. So call to action. Don't sleep. Follow the intentional volunteering hub to stay up to date, to stay intentional, to stay purposeful, to stay deliberate about impact, about your life. And also follow us on LinkedIn at the intentional volunteering hub. You can just do that now. Just search LinkedIn and you get all the information that you would get. So it's been great. It's been an Okay, so I think my network is trying to warn me, but I think we're done. It's been great. It's been amazing. I don't know if anyone has a question. Uh, Someone is trying to. Does some questions before I go? I like to take some questions before I go. I like to take some questions before I go. Any questions? I want to say thank you to everyone that joined in. Somi Junior, cognitive therapist. Comfort is an amazing um mental health advocate. She joined in as the cognitive therapist, right? I hope I did not murder that. She's doing so well in the mental health space, and I think everybody needs to check that once in a while. My husband also joined in. Sweetest, thank you. Nina Gold, thank you for joining in. Edo Akis, thank you for joining in. Ini Ekada, thank you for joining in. Saint Shepsy, thank you for joining in. The Niger Snow White, thank you for joining in. Ugumba, thank you so much for joining in. It's really been amazing. It's really been amazing. It's been an amazing experience. I know we did not start on time, but then we were able to do what we came here for, and we did justice to that. So don't forget to follow the Intentional Volunteering Hub. You can also follow me, of course, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Also follow the Intentional Volunteering Hub. Okay, I can see I think someone is trying to Braxton, do you have a question? Braxton, do you have a question? I see you're trying to share the screen with me. If you have a question, you can type it. I can see it. Thank you so much, Ninago. Thank you for joining in. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone that joined in. I'm glad you got value, and we're going to keep doing this. We're going to continue doing this. We're going to continue doing this. So whew, it's been an amazing experience. And at this juncture, I would have to draw the curtain close. Thank you. Thank you so much, Braxton. Thank you so much for joining in. Please tell everybody, hit your, is it your gong? Or shall I tell somebody about what we're doing at the Intentional Volunteering Hub. We want to see that everybody, is involved in development. And it's not just about being in social. I'm in the social impact development space. There are people that do amazing things in the environmental space, in agriculture, in tech. Mention it. So whatever skill you have, you can deploy it somewhere. You just have to find where to deploy that. So as you journey with us, we're going to take you through all of that. So this is me saying bye. This is me saying peace, and see you in our next live.